Your life is a result of the choices you've made previously. Your next decision could change everything. In fact, you've made the first best decision by watching this video, and I guarantee you, before the end, you would have an answer to why things are not working. You would have an answer why it seems like although you are dissipating energy, although you're putting in effort, and every single thing you've done up until this point seems void, as though the universe has turned a blind eye to every single effort put. I've studied rich people, I've studied poor people to understand why are some people rich and why are some people poor. Believe me, very few people studied this subject of wealth and abundance the way I did. I wanted to understand, even in the Bible, I went as far as reading the Bible. And in the Bible, I saw a text, very unsettling text, up until this day. In the wilderness, when the children of Israel were in the wilderness, the Bible said God came down about to instruct Aaron the prophet on how the offerings would be collected. He said, the rich should give no more than a pence. The poor should give no more than a pence. Most people would read that verse and pass. But the unsettling part of that aspect is even in the wilderness, there was economic stratification. Even further, God Himself recognized the economic stratification in the wilderness. So majority of people who have this flawed idea, as a Christian, you should disengage wealth, you should disregard wealth, or being wealthy is carnal. Let's touch on that because there are people with all sorts of ideal. First of all, if you consider that kind of belief, it's most likely you have discerned as an intelligent individual that wealth is a component of various ingredients. There's discipline, persistence, then the knowledge factor, which in and of itself is diverse. So majority of people have seen the work that needs to be put in to get to the wealthy place as an act of their will, decided it's not worth it, masquerading behind the idea it's carnal or it's evil. Wealth is a mindset. Let's not diverge. We're not talking about wealth. This is not a financial teaching. We're talking about choices and how choices shape your destiny. Isn't it comical that the smallest things carries the weightiest effect as touching your life and destiny? Choices have consequences. If you put your hand in fire, it burns, you withdraw immediately. You jump off a building, you would fall. So that's why most people restrain from taking that kind of action, because the consequences are not just extreme, they are immediate. Conversely, extrapolated into your own life, decisions like living hedonistic ways, decision by being degenerate, decision by partying, decision by not making quality investments in your destiny. The consequences are not immediate, but slowly and surely they would find you. These are the immutable consequences, or these are the immutable laws of the universe. One of the things about choices, no matter where you run, you can't escape them. They would find you with digital precision and metal judgment. You can run to the ends of the world. You can hide under a pillow. You can hide under a bed. But the consequences of your decision would find you, irregardless. Choices. Choices. I hope you know every single one of you had something doing before this video. Every single one of you decided to put a pause because you placed priority over that activity. You put priority on this activity because of the quality of information you're about to learn. I hope you know this is US or this is Africa, irregardless of where you're watching from. There is something you could have been doing with your time, but you chose to make this quality investment in your life. It's a choice. It's a choice. One of the things, and I studied the Bible, and you would see God act as though he's powerless, begging men to do his will. As I thought you are the all powerful God, why can't you control someone or make a decree he should do XYZ? Else there will be consequence. I found out through scripture God did not take away our will. So the distinguishing aspect between man and any of God's creatures is the will. The will. I set before you life and death. I set before you blessings and curses. I can't force you. I can only advise you. Choose life. It's a choice. You can choose as touching your destiny. Unconsciously, majority make terrible decisions that leads to an unwanted life. By this logic, if choices have consequences, if choices shape your destiny, I want you to examine your life through the lens of this teaching. Look at the quality of decisions you've been making and the end result of your destiny. You find out very quickly fate is not to be blamed. Your background is not to be blamed. Majority of people have all kinds of excuse. I came from a poor background, I have this disability, or something happened. My friend, you are not given the liberty to choose where you come from, but you are given the liberty to choose where you arrive. You can't choose your starting point, but you can choose your destination. There are people who has gone through twice worse the experience and have managed to break away from the shackles of poverty. And I'm being financial centric because finances account for a huge percentage of your life. In fact, there are so many problems, there are so many experiences you undergo. In the presence of finances, it's non-existent. Examine your life, you would see the small quandaries between spouse arguing about pennies or tuition fees or things that don't matter can easily be solved in the presence of abundance. So yes, would be a little financial centric, but overall, the well-being of your life would be emphasized. Choices. And choices are divided into two. There's something called major choices and minor choices. Minor choices don't have so much effect as touching your destiny. For instance, I'm putting on a black vest. It might not necessarily disqualify me from posting videos, or it might not necessarily have an effect as touching the outcome of this content. But minor choices are the ones you make daily. But major choices are life defining decisions. For instance, where do you live, your spouse, the kind of partner you would engage with, your career path, And your major decisions also influences the minors. For instance, if you decide to be a football player, that's a major decision. The minor decisions are the daily goals you set. The minor decisions are daily activities of which leads to that major decision. So major decisions are the ones you make once. Minor decisions, the half part leads up to the macro. It's amazing how people live their life to chance. It's amazing how people have zero idea of what next they are going to be doing. I find it appalling. Most of you watching, what are you going to do tomorrow? You have no idea. It is disgusting. There is nothing that gets you out of bed. That's why people fall prey to hedonism, because a purposeless man distracts himself with pleasure. There are individuals today who have no idea whatsoever where their destiny is headed. They just hope something will happen magically, my friend. Nothing happens if nothing happens. Nothing changes if nothing changes. If you do not make something to move, it would never move. According to the law of mechanics, an object would always remain static except an external force compels it to do otherwise. For as long as you're in a static position and you do not decide to compel yourself to move, guess what? Exactly. Don't stand there blaming and pointing fingers. There are people who blame externalities. There are people who blame parents. Unfortunately, if you keep leading that life, your child will grow up to repeat the same pattern. While your mates were making choices to read books, attend seminars, network, build a business, develop talent and skill, you were playing draft, you were attending parties, living a hedonistic life. At the end of it all, your results are vastly apart. Then you come up to accuse the person of some shady business. To learn is a choice. To sustain the body of knowledge that transits you from point A to point B is a choice. You see, I studied wealthy people a lot. I studied the common thread woven across that fabric. They don't talk so much about the investment vehicle that transited them from poverty to riches. One thing they emphasize is the mindset for success. Mindset is not limited to the law of attraction, law of manifestation. It's a composite of many, an array of things. Every business you are doing, every business you are failing at, someone else is succeeding. The difference is not the business, the difference is the mindset. Oh, it's capital. That's the problem with most people. Handed capital, you might not be able to produce the outcome you foolishly believe you can. There are people today who are begging God, just give me $5,000 and I promise you I would use. You don't need to come and help me. $5,000, you would quickly take it back. Choices are very important. Choices, what you do. And I mostly tutor young people. I mostly speak to the upcoming generation. Your 20s is not to lead a hedonistic life. Your 20s should be spent trying to develop capacity, build, learn. There are individuals, as a result of this teaching, alliances you need to break. You need to create your relationship to match, or you need to create a relationship that reflects your values. Unfortunately, I curate my environment. I only speak to winners. Every phone I would pick up, every text message I would respond, they are winners. And if my reality is filled with winners, tell me how I would not win. Exactly. If there are five foolish people, you didn't count well. There are six foolish people. If there are five wise people, you also did not count well. There are six wise people. Show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are. Your friends subconsciously influence your behaviors. And if you're in the company of gossipers, people who compare themselves against themselves, see externalities as some value system, you cannot rise in that company. The appalling thing about choices, once you make the choice to disregard that kind of friendship, you would feel the pain immediately. You would be lonely. You would not have company. Once you make the choice as a lady to not follow a man because of certain access to a kind of lifestyle, you would suffer the consequence temporarily. Perhaps you have to scale back on a certain lifestyle, and the onlookers, your former friends, would look at your life. This personal development has hijacked your mindset. Look at how you're living. So the consequences will be felt temporarily. There are times when it gets difficult and you would feel the urge, crawl back to that previous lifestyle. Go back to what you were doing previously. At least it was comfortable. I hate the uncertainty. Would anyone ever want to be friends with me? But I guarantee you, choices. It was at the reminder of these principles I stopped feeling as though my life was hinged upon things like the devil, God, and all of that. It created an awareness of the responsibility component as touching my destiny. Nothing, even the devil, can stop you if you understand choices. The only thing the devil can do is manipulate you into making wrong choices. But as touching influencing your destiny, impossible. Most people attribute the devil more credit than he deserves. You magnify him beyond his proportion, of which he receives open heartedly. In fact, if that's your mindset of pointing fingers, referring your flaws to externalities and pointing, he's the cause of my problem, that in and of itself diagnoses the real cause of the problem, which is you. You're the cause of the problem. Making wrong choices with your life. I want to be wealthy. I don't doubt you. And I also do not believe you until I see who is shaping your mindset. What are you studying? Why are you studying what you're studying? If X amount was to flow into your account, what next? What are you doing with your time? How do you spend your time? Your relationship with money. Do you understand the principles? Do you understand investment? The arrays associated with wealth? Do you understand how to deal with envy? Someone calls you stupid online or dumb online. You're tearing up. You want to become a billionaire? It's impossible. Another significant thing about choices is you do not make a choice and pick the consequence or the outcome. Consequence, as I've taught you, is a subliminal programming to associate with negativity. When you were a child, if you come late to school, you face the consequence. You thought you were a small boy, you thought you're just a young man. Now, as an adult, you still associate consequence with negativity. But consequence means the outcome, either good or bad. So you cannot make a choice and choose the outcome or choose the consequence. The consequence is a byproduct of your choice. Individuals today wants to make choice and choose the consequence. It doesn't work that way. Does not. Consequences are attached to choice. Examine your life again and be honest. I want to know in the comment section. Review your life through these immutable principles. Answer. Does my choice reflect the outcome of the destiny I so desire? If you cannot be honest with yourself, then there is no growth. If you can't objectively assess yourself, as painful as this teaching, you're right. I've been making wrong choices with my life. I need to adjust. And there's no room for growth. I'm talking to those 1%er who are ready for responsibility, who are ready to take their life to the next level. People who are tired of borrowing and begging and lying and stealing to transit to the next level. Choices, choices. Including I sitting here. Subconsciously, I'm examining my life because God is speaking to everyone through me. I'm listening to myself while teaching. All my choices leading up to this point. What am I doing next? Once I drop the camera, what do I do next? Does this align to my set goal? You can lie to yourself, but remember, the consequence of your decisions would find you and met out judgment with digital precision. You can't escape it. Decision, choices, choices. There are people today, after tonight's discourse, you need to open a piece of paper, write out every single thing you've done leading up to this point, and truly, objectively examine yourself. Quickly, I'll give you three choices to make, and we call it a day. The first choice, a decision to mend your spiritual life. This one is very important, and most people disregard the idea of God as a consequence of their lust for hedonism. I want you to look at it from the end product. The end product. Say you had all the beautiful women, you had the yacht, you could smoke cocaine, you could do drugs, and you did every single thing hedonistic. To what end? Put yourself in that position. Come to the conclusion that it is nothing. Now, I'm not trying to restrain you or preach God dogma or preach God to you. I'm being as logical as possible. You enjoyed all the hedonism. You quickly come to the conclusion it's not worth it. Unfortunately, why most people go through this route is because very few attain to the height of hedonism. It's an endless pursuit because it requires finances to facilitate. And even those who have gotten to the extreme and pinnacle of hedonism come to the conclusion it's not worth it. Famously, Dan Brazilian gets his religion, he's reverted. It's not worth it. So fix your spiritual life being godless. People be godless, become godless to give them access to pleasure without feeling guilty. It's stupid. An evil man. Don't do it. It doesn't make sense. So fix your spiritual life. I'm not encouraging you to adopt my religion or choosing religion for you, but have God in your life. The second is to become purposeful, discover your purpose. I've done an extensive teachings on how to find your purpose, struggles associated with purpose, and finishing purpose strong. So there are a lot of teachings, including ancillary videos on how to discover your purpose. Purpose is very important as touching life and destiny because purpose is what gets you out of bed. In fact, your life is filled with problems as a consequence, lack of purpose. Purpose was something you get up out of bed to. Purpose is the best aspect of your life, fulfilling your purpose or taking the minor decisions leading up to the actualization of purpose is the best part of your day. Unfortunately, when that's absent in your life, you distract yourself with pleasure. Pleasure now becomes the purpose. Even that gratifies temporarily. It devolves to becoming keeping you sane. So you no longer find pleasure in the weed and the various addictions, but you have to do it. That's the only thing that keeps you sane. It's like, ah, so addiction has layers. Telling people go to the gym and regurgitating statements you do not fully understand is driving people deeper, not just to depression, but to the addiction. It is very difficult for a depressed person to take action, let alone fail. So when you're prescribing solutions to a depressed person, you better hope it's the right one. They need that first win. Not checking your facts, not making sure it's correct in an attempt to get paid at the expense of someone else's pain is diabolical. So do not do it. First is become purposeful. The last one, to become financially independent. I cannot stress the importance of finances, and I've touched on it subtly at the beginning of this video. Finances is important. Do not let any pastor, imam, or someone you look up to sell you the idea or undermine the importance of finances in your life. Finances are very important. Finances are very important as touching your life and destiny. Do not let anyone, I repeat, anyone undersell the importance of finances. Finances, finances account for a huge portion of your life. Finances accounts for a huge portion of your life and destiny. How do I explain this? Do not, I've given you the spouse analogy. Finances accounts for a huge portion of your life and destiny. Stressing and giving you an analogy will just be an attempt to extend this video beyond proportion. Finances is very important. A bonus tip. Your health. Your health is very important. Anything that requires you to destroy your relationship with God, your family, your relationship with your family, and your health is not worth it. You can only look for money once you're healthy. You can only partake in life's activities if you're healthy. Recall the last time you felt ill. You shut down on every single thing for your well being. So, health is truly wealth. Let me know in the comment section the various actions you will take. I want to know your choices. I want to know how you're going to do it. Remember, choose now this day not to watch this video and succumb to inaction. Take your first action today by committing yourself to a piece of writing in the comment section. And as always, my friends, a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.